We're always live. No, I'm kidding. Audrey, thank you for joining me on the podcast. Welcome to the
Thank you.
X-Foils.
I'm super stoked to be here, Dylan, with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So primarily, we're getting on here to talk about the Cabarete Wing Fest that's coming up June 19th, right?
Correct.
I'll be attending with Arland, but we'll get into that a little bit later because you've just got, I mean, it's the first time you've been on the show. You've got so much history in water sports and in foiling. So I wanted to kind of dig a little bit into that because we also, I mean, we don't have history, but I mean, I met you back in 2009 in Cabarete.
Yeah.
You were riding EH kites.
It's been a while.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in Cabarete then? And where'd you come from?
So I arrived in Cabarete in the Dominican Republic in 99. So now it's been 26 years. I live my best life over there. I'm originally from France. And I started windsurfing when I was a little girl in south of France. And I always wanted to live close to the ocean where it's super cool, where I can do my water sport. I was always attracted by water sport. And so I studied as sports teacher and I got an offer as a windsurf instructor in Cabarete in the Dominican Republic. I had no idea where it was. I had to open like a book, and check where was the Dominican Republic. So I arrived here in 99, 22 years old, teaching windsurfing in the other side of the world. And I remember my mom is like, how long are you going to stay there? And I'm like, well, just a season.
just 26 years, you know?
Yeah. I don't want to leave.
That's wild.
I think I'm going to live forever here.
Yeah. Yeah. You have quite a base there.
Yeah.
Were you teaching windsurfing before you came to the island? Is that why they approached you or?
Yeah, I was a windsurf instructor, a little summer job. I was actually certified as a windsurf instructor in France. So just teaching the kids how to windsurf in France. So that's how I started working actually for Vela in 99.
Wow, Vela's been around for a long time.
Yeah, more than 30 years.
Is it the same spot where it is now?
It's started couple feet downwind from where you know now. And then they moved 2 or 3 times. But Vela has been now in the same location that you know and that it's today since probably 30 years.
Wow. And do you guys own Vela now?
My husband does, Jens. Well,
okay.
So I do own it as well. So Jens, yeah. My husband.
So primarily you, right? I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jens, and he's, they 2-person, Jens and he's a colleague or he's a partner. So Jens been running Vela since 2001. So okay. I was hired as a windsurf instructor before he took over.
Oh, really? So and that's how you guys met in Vela?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
He was not my boss at the time, so I did not sleep with the boss. Yeah.
He was just a colleague.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because you also had a kite school.
Yeah. So
in Kite Beach.
Yeah, and it was part of Vela. So, as kiteboarding started to become popular in 2000, I start touching kiting. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to learn how to do it. And eventually I liked it. I wanted to start teaching it. So that's how we started a first school. And Dare to Fly was the name of the school, was one of the first school in Cabarete. And we started probably the school end of 2000, beginning of 2001. And I was one of the first instructor.
Wow, that's super early.
Yeah, it was crazy at the time then.
And there were people that were willing to learn. They watched these kites taking people down the beach and they're like, I want to learn that.
Yeah, they were crazy enough to wanted to learn. And at the time, there was no safety. There was no leash. I remember Jens put some foot strap of one of my old surfboard. I had a leash. I didn't have a helmet. There was no safety release. It was crazy. At the time, it was really for hardcore.
Yeah. And I mean, there was nobody else teaching it. So I guess you developed your own teaching methods, the way to go about it, how to get somebody into the sport as safe as possible. Like having the school's a liability, teaching people this extreme sport that's got no safety.
Yeah, well, people just saw we were like a couple people, like 3, 4, 5 people riding, and they're like, "Oh, that looks amazing! I want to learn." And they knew that it's an extreme sport, so they had the ball to learn it or to try it at least.
Yeah. And when you started kite surfing, you still had windsurfing on the side, or was kiteboarding kind of took over?
Kiteboarding took over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was still windsurfing a little bit, and then I got really into kiteboarding. Story short, I started competing. There was a World Cup in Cabarete in June, and then I realized I'm not so bad because I was doing it all the time, every day. So
And
I started
was
following the
that,
tour.
sorry, was that the PKRA? Was that in 2008 when you did that?
It was starting the first PKRA, I think 2004 probably, or
Oh,
2005.
okay, okay.
I'm not sure exactly the dates, but yeah, I was at the time competing. My first PKRA in Cabarete was 2006 or 7. And then I competed for 5 years following the tour.
Because I was there for a couple of PKRAs, and maybe it was in 2010 or something. There was a competition that summer, and I remember you competing, and you had like oil or something all over your bar. It was like slippery because it was like in a boat from a downwinder. Do you remember that, or am I making that up?
I'm not sure, but could
Because
have
I remember
been,
you
or
coming into the beach and like rubbing sand all over it because it was slippery.
could have been. And I remember doing that often time. We were like doing handle pass and
Uh-huh.
well, putting sunblock first. So you wanted to make sure that when you pass the bar, right, it's kind of like grippy. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised I've done that.
Yeah, I don't know why that's ingrained in my mind.
Sunblock is
uh,
not good when you do your handle pass.
yeah, no, definitely not. Because I spent a lot of time in Cabarete. I think I went 6 years in a row. I spent my summers there when I wasn't in Mexico. So we came down June, July, August, a little bit of September when it started to get really slow. And yeah, I have some really good memories of Cabarete. And I wasn't as embedded in the scene because I just came for the summer. I was just riding, doing my thing. I wasn't part of the businesses there. I knew who had schools, and there's like a couple good ones that I knew of, but I mean now there's how many? There's got to be 20 something schools
Yeah,
over there.
even more, probably 20, 25. They are the physical school, the one you see on the beach. And then they are, like virtual school. You would chat with someone and then they would meet you either at the hotel or so. Cabaret is seen probably, I would say by now, there has to be at least 25 school.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've got a similar season here in Puerto Rico, but Cabarete is so specific. It's got its own little climate, right? And it's all thermal winds. You get really strong winds. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess, is it the most consistent in the summer?
Yeah.
Kind of how it is here.
Yeah. Summer, it's slowly blowing around 9:30, 10:30. You have a little breeze. That's when it's not good anymore. Well, first you go surfing because it's super glassy. And then you have a little breeze kicking in 9:30, 10 o'clock, which means it's great for foiling or wing foiling. And then it's slowly kicking in until 1, 2, 2:33. It's like blasting 25 plus, and it blows the full afternoon. And in summer, it's every day. It's like a machine. Sometimes you're like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, please, one day with no wind, I need to rest.
Just give me a break. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But summer, it's super consistent. You see it coming up in the morning, and then strongest peak time would be between 2 and 4. And then at 5:30, the wind drops a little bit. It's nice. And that, it's the best time, but don't tell anyone because it's the
Yeah.
sunset best session.
Yeah, I always brought like a 12 meter, a 12, a 9, and a 7. And I'd always start at like 10 o'clock. And nobody was on the water. Like no one wants to kite until it's 12, 1, until the wind's enough for a 9. So I was always out there early, getting in like a solo session. And then when foiling came around, I was on my 9 meter every day, starting at 9 o'clock. Like all you needed was 9, 10 knots, and I could kite foil, and you had the whole bay to yourself. I remember that first, it was 2012. I was with Jeremy and Scary Gary, and we were learning how to foil, and it was just epic being able to, because Cabarete gets busy. There are a lot of kites. I don't know how I'm sure seasons come and go. And when I'm there in the summer, it's the most consistent. It's a great place to be. So there's sometimes 150, 200 kites maybe in the bay on a really busy day. So being out there in the morning and foiling, it was just epic because you could go all the way down to Kite Beach, all the way back, all the way up into the corner where you wouldn't kite, where the windsurfers are, and you just could explore so much and be the only kiter on the water. It was wild to see people looking and being like, "What the hell is going on?" In those early days of foiling. It
Yeah.
was so much fun.
Yeah, and people don't realize, or people do realize today with wing foiling and with foiling, that you can go in the water from 9 o'clock until sunset. You don't have just to go when it's blasting 25 knots. Actually, I'm the same than you. I would avoid the peak time just because it's busy, but before and after, I'm having a blast.
When did you learn how to kite foil? It
So
must have been
it
around the same time, I guess, or earlier.
Yeah, it was actually Scary Gary. You just mentioned him. He's like, Audrey, you need to learn that. You're a water woman. And he came to the school with his board. He's like, do that. Try it. I'm like, are you going to teach me? No, no, no. Just try. Do it. So he gave me the board, a body drag with the board. Took me a couple try, water start was fine, and then like the dolphin, and then after I'm like, oh, it's not so bad, you need to keep the board flat. I got it pretty quick, but I could not go downwind. I was just going upwind, and then I would put the board in the water and just push it downwind. And I'm like, Gary, how do you bring that thing downwind? And but yeah, foiling was just so much fun because you could try, or you could be in the water earlier and later. And even the day, we still have days in Cabarete where it's blowing 11 knots, 12 knots. Right now, it's probably, I would say 12 knots, 14 max would be perfect for foiling.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those early days. I had the exact same experience. You're like, get on foil, and then you're all like in one tack. You're the furthest upwind you've ever been in your life.
Yeah.
Like I've never been upwind this far in Cabarete Bay before.
Yeah, yeah. And
And then
instead
you're
of
like,
doing,
how do I go down?
yeah, I mean, I remember people, instead of doing downwinder, we would do upwinder, right? Upwinder to La Boca, and then just downwinder surfing on the waves or whatever. But suddenly the upwinder became fun.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife did the exact same thing for like a week. She was body dragging and pushing the board and body dragging and pushing the board down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a second. It's because it's so natural just to lean against it, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
feel that power. It's just so much more stability. And you
Yeah.
were learning on Gary's kit then? Because that
Yeah.
was not a super friendly setup from what I remember.
Well, it was actually a lift board. And
Oh, was it that multicolored one?
exactly.
I learned on the
Yeah.
same one.
Oh, well, you see?
I think that went around.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he still has that board around.
Yeah, that was a cool board. Yeah.
That was a cool board. Yeah. Yeah.
And when did the wing foiling thing come into to Cabarete, and how'd you guys get a hold of that? I assume you guys started to implement it into the Vela windsurf school as well, because it kind of goes hand in hand, right? That Vela always did windsurfing, right? It wasn't kiting because it was kind of made for that. And do you guys you still get a windsurf crowd in Cabarete? Like it's still
a little bit.
It's still
a
good.
Little bit. So, well, what happened? You have those people who are really into windsurfing, and I have to say, between you and me, when it's a good 25 knots and good overhead waves, I love to have a good windsurfing session. I
for sure.
love it. It's just like windsurfing is able to allow me to ride waves like I could not kite surfing. Kiting, you have the kite pulling you, right? Windsurfing, you just bring your sail down and you kind of like able to surf. I'm a surfer originally, and I like to have that feeling of gliding on the board without having something pulling you forward. Even if you loop your kite or you do whatever, you still have that forward momentum that you can completely stop, right? So I still like to windsurf. I'm getting lazy because I just love so much wing foiling. I know I can go wing foiling from 12 knots till 30 knots. And I don't even have to be like, oh, is it a good 25 so I can go take my windsurf board? I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm gonna go wing foiling. So to answer your question, wing foiling, and I started probably, I would say 2018 or 2017. And it was not easy at the beginning because we were the only one. People were looking at us like, what are you guys? Are you freak? You just cut your lines from your kite and you just holding your kites in your hands. So at the beginning, we were not even sure. The equipment was not even the best. And we didn't know how to stand up. I remember we had paddle boards and we modified the paddle board. We attached a foil, which we had from the windsurfing boards. And we started like that, we just started learning to wing foil on those big boards. So we didn't even have to have the technique of going down from your bum to your knee, from your knee to up. We were already using big boards. So we were already up. And actually, Jens and I, we were already subfoiling. So because we already rode waves on the subboard, on the foil, we already had that feeling about gliding. So it was not so difficult for us because we already had the foiling. And then we just needed to add the wing. And because we both windsurfer, it was kind of like similar. We kind of like, oh, sweet. It's kind of like holding on a boom windsurfing of like wing foiling. So that's how we started 2018. And there were not so many people. We were probably with just both of us. And then it started like 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. Now you see 50 people wing foiling. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, coming from your background of, all the sports, right? SUP, surfing, and foiling, kite surfing, windsurfing. You just mix it all up and you have kind of maybe not the best of all worlds, but it's pretty close, being able to ride waves, being able to kind of free yourself from the power and this like speed that you can get, holding the sail in your arms. So you feel this kind of raw power, right? So it's got a good combo of all those sports kind of meshed together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, I loved it when I first saw it. I was like, I didn't know if it was going to be a super thing. I was not skeptical, but I was like, maybe it's like a fad but I want to try it for sure. So,
Yeah.
I bought this stuff right away to try to do it. And it was super clear to me the moment I got up on foil, that it was going to be a thing. I was like, yeah, I got to figure out how to teach people how to do this because this is definitely going to be integrated into the school, into the shop. And it's like, oh my God, I'm already overwhelmed with all this kiteboarding stuff. Now we got to add another sport and, bring in all these Flintstone boards. They're just like, I've got to double the size of my storage unit. It's just all this added equipment. But what a blessing,
Yeah. Yeah. I can see wing foiling, it's kiteboarding. It's a radical sport. That you have the lines, you need to have the beat. I've seen people learning wing foil, either they're in their 70s or, they're a little have a little more body fat and they're not such in good shape. You just put those women and men, kids or elders on a bigger board and they feel confident, right? And they can let go of the wing and there's no line attached. They know that they're not going to hit someone 90 feet down because it's just attached to them. So I could see how wing foiling brought more people into the water sport than kiting did. And that windsurfing as well, because windsurfing, it's physical. I don't know if you windsurf, but man, when you water start and when you windsurf, it keeps you in shape.
No, I've never windsurfed. It never really, because I was just so into kiting, it just never captured my attention. I wish, when I had I had access to equipment. I was teaching and running a water sports center in Zanzibar in Africa, and we had all this windsurf equipment. And I did a few lessons. I taught beginner lessons, like these giant boards with these tiny little sails. And I'm like, this is how you angle it into the wind. I'm like, this has got to be how you do it. And I gave our intro lessons, but I never actually went out and did it myself. And I wish I would have, because I want to be good in everything, right? And it's one of those things that I regret not actually getting into it and trying it, because I know that it's really hard, versus all these other sports that I do.
Yeah, yeah. I would say from all the water sport, windsurfing would probably be the one which would take you the longest or the most time to be good at,
Hmm.
because you first gonna have to learn to ride standing on the board, and then you're gonna learn to ride with your feet in the foot strap, and then with your feet in the harness. So it's a progression. It's not like you feet in the foot strap and you in a harness right away and you're gliding. It's
Yeah.
just like step by step, and it takes time on the water, and it's tiring. That's why wing foiling, it's just so much fun because it slides.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tell people when they come into my shop and they're thinking about what to do, I don't know. I don't know if kiteboarding for me is so physical. Maybe it's more daunting. I always felt like I tell people windsurfing, wing foiling is technically easier. There's more, maybe the foil is hard to grasp the concept of it, and it's very nuancy on how to get it up on foil and maintain it on foil. But I always
Yeah.
felt it was a little bit more physical because you're climbing up on the board, and the kiting, the kite just flies by itself, right? It can.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're 250 pounds, like just get a bigger kite and relax. And if you've got the right technique, then the kite will just drag you through the water.
Yeah.
So there are kind of little differences. You can make it, if you don't have the right technique, then yeah, kiteboarding can just take you for a ride, and there's no break. Unless you fully release it, you are connected to the kite. You are essentially kiteboarding. At least with winging, yeah, you can let go of the sail and you're just floating, right? You're
Yeah.
just sitting there and hanging out. Yeah, I always try to wrap my head around it. How do I explain it to people? Because they come into these sports and maybe they don't know how to do any water sports. So I want them to find kind of the right thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
And winging can sometimes, if you don't have the right personality, you can plateau for a while and you're just kind of standing there. Maybe you're not feeling the progression as much, and you don't feel like you're doing the sport because you're just climbing on and off the board and holding the sail, climbing on and off and holding the sail.
Yeah.
So there are these, like, kiteboarding is just so, for me, it was always, what if you're on the beach flying a kite, you're kiting, right? You're flying the kite. You're always you're always in it, right? And you can't not be in it. If you're not, then the kite's crashing or you're out of control. So with winging, yeah, you can get into it and you can be out there floating on your board and you can think about your office job for a second. You're just hanging there with the wing on your wrist and everything's chill, and then you can get back into action. So, but I mean, for a school standpoint, for me, it was amazing because winging is just so low risk, with kiteboarding, and finding the right instructors and finding the amount of space and the right wind. It's so labor intensive,
Yeah.
Winging is just so much, it's way more relaxed in that sense of the teaching and how safe it can be and what people can actually do it, right?
Yeah. And it could be paradoxal because, winging, for people who don't know what it is, I mean, they see that huge mast and that front wing, and it looks like a knife. And it's like, why would
Yeah.
you stand on something like that and fall and cut yourself, right? But in the end, it's like we've been teaching at Vela, and you have a school, that what's the chance out that you cut yourself, right? When you fall, first of all, you have all the protection. You have a helmet, you have an impact vest, you wear leggings, but that's mostly for the rush on your knees. But when you fall on the board, it's like, what are the chances that you on the top of the board and you fall on the foil, right? And even if you fall on it, you fall and thing goes under the water. So I personally haven't seen much people getting hurt by the foil unless you push yourself. Don't take me wrong. I got cut on my forehead because I was riding waves, in big waves. Of course, I wanted to be cool, have no helmet. I get tumbling the waves, and the board hit me. But that's my own fault. But as a beginner, it's so easy and so relaxed. You're just floating on that big board and you have that little wing. And just like you say, you can sit there and just meditate, right? You can be sitting and just nothing's going to happen because you kite. It's not like you kite, it's going to crash 30 meters down. You have everything under control.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's such a great sport for more people to get into it. And like, it's just so much more accessible, right, in a lot of ways. So it's been great. So you had the Dare to Fly kite school, and you sold it. Is that
Yeah.
right? At one
Yeah.
point? When was that?
We sold it in 2016. Dare to Fly. I was running the school and we only had, we were teaching kiteboarding only. Kiteboarding, kite surfing, freestyle in the waves. We had couple paddleboard, but that was located on Kite Beach. And now my husband Jens, who runs Vela since 2000, and Vela, like we mentioned earlier, since more than 30 years, started with windsurfing. But when we saw the huge shift happening, he kind of like switched from windsurfing only to windsurfing and wing foiling. So right now we only do those things: windsurfing, wing foiling, and we have a little bit paddleboard. But we do not have anymore the kite business because we sold it in 2016. And it's cool. I still go kiting, but I'm just so much into wing foiling. And I can see Cabarete is drawing so many people right now for to wing foiling because the condition here are just perfect for it. You know, we have this big open ocean. Um, it's kind of like still, if you want to go in the big waves, you just go past the reef or you can go on the reef. But if you want to stay more in the inside and have more flat water, you still can do both. So it just attract all those people because you can do more flat water, more wave, and also open ocean downwinder, which we've been doing. You know, it's how much fun it is, right? So we have all those conditions, which are just amazing.
Are people foil surfing in Encuentro?
So I foil surf. We don't go in Encuentro. We go a little bit upwind of Encuentro. It's called Outer. You probably could longboard that wave. It's great for prawn foiling. And there's no surfer. And it's a little deeper than Encuentro. You know, if you surf in Encuentro, Encuentro can get shallow and Encuentro can get busy as well, right? So it's not good. It wouldn't be good to have foiler and surfer in the same spot. So we try to kind of like, if we see foiler, especially if they're learning, it's like, hey, there's a better spot over there. So it just naturally, keeps the surfer one way and the prone surfer a different beach, just a little upwind from Encuentro.
Yeah, it's just because you can ride mushy waves. You don't need a perfect wave, you know?
Yeah.
That's that's another thing I regret is not learning how to surf earlier. I spent so much time in Cabarete and I went like twice to Encuentro and got on a longboard and like a big foamy and surfed a little bit, but I was just too one-tracked on kiteboarding. It was such a bummer.
Yeah, well, it's never too late, you know.
No, for sure. Well, I still don't surf, but I foil surf, right?
Yeah.
But I love it so much. Like I wish I could have enjoyed it and you know, earlier on when I had so much time. But
Yeah.
that's why I'm excited to come. You know, I'm coming to Cabarete June 19th. And I haven't been there for years. I haven't been there for 8 years. So it'd be super excited. I'm super excited to see what the scene's like, and see what's going on in Cabarete because I have such fond memories of it. Such good times. How is the like kiters versus wingers in Cabarete? I mean,
So you know how the kiter they like to stay on Kite Beach. Gosh, it's just like there's the entire ocean. You can wing foil from Cabarete Bay to Kite Beach to Encuentro, and during the Wing Fest I'm gonna be talking about, we even gonna go down until Sosua. So I personally don't like to wing foil when I have 50 kites around me, just for safety reason. But the kiter stay around the stay around Kite Beach, so it's cool for us. You know, you have the kiter one way, and sometimes when it gets busy in the summer, when I have too many kiter around me, I'm like, I'm just gonna catch a wave, go downwind until there's no more kiter. And here it
yeah.
is, like 2 minutes later, you know, by myself in the ocean.
So
So
is there more wingers in Cabarete Bay than kiters?
probably yes. Probably in summer, which is July when it's a peak season because there's a lot of the school break, a lot of people from Europe flying here. So summer gets busy. and there are a lot of kiter. But there's always a way to avoid it. You know, I either go a little earlier than the peak time or a little later. I like my sunset session. And if there are too many kiter, I just would go downwind. I even sometimes do a downwinder to encuentro, come back upwind. You know how it is with wing foiling. It's so easy to go one spot to the other in like
Yeah,
no
yeah.
time.
Yeah, you can cover so much ground because when I was there, it was really divided, right? Also, the kites can't go really far upwind because it's kind of wind shadowed over there, and there was a lot more windsurfers up where Vela is. Are there wing foilers in that section because it's a lot flatter, right?
Yeah, it's actually a super nice spot. So of course, we go out from Vela, and in front of Vela, you have the channel, right? If you remember, that's where kind of like you have that flat area. So you have the reef downwind from Vela, and you have like a little mini reef upwind of Vela. So we would go through the channel out and then catch some swell and ride that swell until Millennium or until Kite Beach. So it's amazing. And for people who just learning, you know, when you're a beginner, you don't want to jibe on the wave. You don't want to jibe on the breaking wave. You're not sure if you want to go outside too far. So I told them just jibe or stay through the channel, jibe there, and then catch that swell and start like pumping, just feeling, you know, the energy of the ocean. So this is the reason it's great Cabarete, because everyone from beginner to super advanced to want to learn to ride or glide the swell, it's perfect because there's always something for everybody. You don't need to be in the breaking waves to be able to have fun, right? We actually want to catch the swell outside. So that's great. Channel is good. Open ocean is great. And yes, to answer your question, the kiter, they're not there because for them it's boring. It's the channel. Why would they be in the channel? And they cannot really glide the swell. They want to be on the breaking waves where we are not really on the breaking waves. We may be going to pass them, but we're going to catch the wave from further up.
Yeah. And then right on the inside, it's super flat, right? Because it's all protected in there. It's a little bit shadowed. So what a great place to learn how to wing foil.
Exactly. For the kiter, exactly. In front of Vela, because the wind is a little side shore and could be a little side off at the end of the day, you don't have kiter there because if they come too close, they can feel, you know, no more wind and the kite would fall down, which they know. So they stay further downwind or a little further on the outside.
Yeah, that's great. So what fueled this wing fest and what is it? Like, what's it for? What am I coming to, Audrey?
So having fun. So it started 3 years ago. I have a friend, he has a boat, catamaran, and we're doing downwinder on the boat, sailing. And of course we have the wing foil on the boat. And we're like, hey, let's put the gear in the ocean and let's glide along the catamaran. And we had so much fun. So we tell one person and a second one, and like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. So then story short, we like a big group of people just doing downwinder. And we like, hey, let's start a Cabarete Fest. You know, we need to tell the world what we're going to do, that it's so much fun going downwinder in the open ocean. So we start going from Cabarete to Sosua. And my friend who was the boat is like, I'm going to be supervising you. I'm going to be your safety. And I'm going to make sure I have a couple bottle of Prosecco. So when we arrive, we're going to party on the boat. So we're like, nice. Sweet. So we did it once, 5 friends, twice, 10 friends. And then we need to tell the world, right? We need to organize and invite friends. So the first year, it was 3 years ago, we did the first Cabarete Wing Fest. And we were probably like 20 people. So we had one catamaran and we did the downwinder. But I wanted to invite friends who had brands like, you know, Matt with North and different brand. I'm like, guys, they're friends. I'm like, you guys need to see that. So they bring gear and it's like, let's demo the new gear. So we're like, next year we have to do it again, but bigger. So last year we did it with 2 catamaran and there were more people coming and there were more brands interested. So this year, I know we're going to be much more people and there's going to be, last year we also had jet ski. People were like, there were 2 jet ski following for safety and there were 2 catamaran. So that's the full fun. That's why you're coming, to have fun, to do that big downwinder. but there's also party. Cabarete how it is. So we're gonna be like having fun at the end of the day, and we're gonna having dinner together. And we have some cool people joining us who's gonna talk like talk about technique, about wing foiling, pumping, or whatever. So we want to keep it fun. We also want to keep it when people come to Cabarete, they ask so many questions. And I want to share what I know. I want you to share what you know. I want other people to share what they know, how they learn, their experience, their feedback, and trying new equipment because it's still brand new, right? It reminds me from 20 years ago when I learned kiteboarding. I was like a little kid in Christmas shop. I'm like, oh my gosh, and look at that foil and look at that and that. And even today, like companies start new product. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's what about sharing the stoke, about the new equipment, about the passion, about doing those amazing, sorry, my dogs are excited too, those amazing downwinder and just sharing a good time and connecting with people.
That's cool. Yeah, because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, there's going to be a race and it's a competition. I told Arlen he's going to compete. And then I was reading about it. I'm like, oh, it's actually just like it's like a hangout, to expo some gear, have good times, and hang out with good people, to explore Cabarete, and just, he's like, you mean I don't have to compete or do anything? I'm like, no, I don't think there's any competitions. You're just going to hang out. He's like, I get to hang out for the weekend.
Actually, there will be a competition. There will be a competition. So there will be a race. So the Wing Fest is on 4 days, right? It's going to be Thursday, inscription, party, Friday, demo day. We're gonna get to try new equipment. Also pro talk. You'll be talking. I'll be talking. I don't want to say name, but we have amazing people coming, sharing knowledge from Brazil, from France, from different part of the world. A big rider who ride big waves, who was super good in freestyle. So I'm super excited to bring these guys to Cabarete. So that will be the Friday. The Saturday, we'll be doing the big downwinder. And the Sunday, we'll have a race. So we'll have a race, and we're probably going to have a freestyle race as well because a lot of people coming are really good and a lot of Dominican are really good. And I just want to show everyone what's possible, right? Yeah. So that's what's about.
Nice. I love the racing aspect of winging. It's so much fun. Especially because I'm really fast.
Well, here we go.
We'll see.
And there's going to be prize money as well, of course. So it's just a little extra motivation. And just a lot of fun stuff. And at the same time, there's going to be the Cabarete Jazz Festival, which is a complete different event, but it's going to be the same weekend. It's a friend of mine who organized it. So it's going to be really cool jazz, not jazz for old people, kind of like I'm falling asleep. It's going to be like a good party.
That's cool. Yeah, there's always some good action in Cabarete. Even if there's no event, there's always action. And Cabarete has brewed some amazing athletes. I mean, there are so many, kiters, I'm sure tons of wingers and surfers come out of Dominican Republic in general, but in Cabarete and that small town, there's a lot of talent. And when I was there, I wasn't growing up there, but I was 16, 17, 18, I was young, and just watching all these guys, these kids they are amazing. Like what they can do with a kite and with a wing is just insane. Like the amount of time and energy that they dedicate to being in the water is, it's just out of this world. They live on the beach and that's just what they live and breathe. And it was so cool to see those kids early on, now not kids, and see them out in the world and doing great things and competing. There's too many of them and they're all too good.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see them traveling around and they represent Cabarete really well. They're all super nice. Everyone loves them. They're extremely good athletes. So it's really cool to kind of bring it into Cabarete so people can see where these people come from and where all this action. Cabarete is built. It's built on water sports. Yeah. That place is just amazing. And I'm
Uh,
I'm so stoked that I get to go back and see it again because it was such an amazing part of my life.
I'm so happy you're coming. And you say Cabarete is built on water sports. So just a little summary. When I arrived to Cabarete, it was windsurfing, right? So Cabarete used to be a fisherman village. In the 80s, it started with windsurfing. It became super popular. There was windsurfing World Cup. Robbie Nash came to Cabarete for the windsurfing World Cup, and all those pro windsurfers came to Cabarete. Then there was a shift in 2000, 20 years later. Kiteboarding started. And kiteboarding, Cabarete was on the map. Cabarete was the mecca for kiteboarding. You see these athletes like Posito, Luis Alberto, all those you just named, they became world champion because they had the condition. It's just windy all the time. And then 20 years later, you see now wing foiling. So I would see every 20 years, like this huge fashion sport, and it brings so many athletes up and then next to the next sport. So are we going to have something after wing foiling? I don't know. Now we're into the wing foiling era, but for sure we can see all those athletes and all those people coming to Cabarete just who become so good into wing foiling because of the conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, 300 plus windy days a year. That'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if there's no wind, you go prone foiling or you go with your little wing. How you call it? This thing. I haven't tried it. Man, you're going to have to bring some. I have to learn that.
Oh, I've got them all. I'm bringing all of them.
Good.
They fit into
Good.
like a little bag like this. I can bring like 50 of them into my backpack.
Here we go.
Parawinging. Parawinging is,
Parawing.
it's taking off. So it's going to be an addition. I don't know if it's going to be its own sport that takes over like winging has, but it's definitely going to be an added discipline that you guys can enjoy over there in Cabarete because you got the conditions for it for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, downwinding, there's got to be, amazing downwinding bumps over there. So I'm super stoked to test that out.
Yeah, there's a guy actually who does it. He loves it, and he's a good friend of mine, and Jens. He's just always doing downwinder with a power wing. I haven't get into it, but yeah, it's probably during the Wing Fest.
I mean, you will for sure. I mean, if you've done it all. So when I wanted to backtrack when you sold Dare to Fly and you got out of the kiteboarding scene or the kiteboard school, let's say, did you do that and then you had like to relax and have some time off, or you were transitioning and you were going to help out at Vela?
So I always helped out at Vela because Dare to Fly was the kiteboarding school from Vela, right? So I was always the figure from Vela, the athlete, the water sport, water woman, doing it all. I mean, Jens, my husband, he was like a pure windsurfer, didn't want to learn kiteboarding. So now he's happy.
Did he ever learn kiteboarding?
He tried twice, and then he's like, I'm gonna go kiteboarding once I'm 80. This is not for young people. So I'm like, okay, whatever. He didn't like it, but it was at the beginning, when we didn't have the kite we have today. However, we sold the kiteboarding school Dare to Fly in 2016. And then I was still a little bit into kiteboarding, but I didn't want it to kite on Kite Beach. I would go kiting in Encuentro when there would be good sized waves. So I actually came back to windsurfing, and I liked it, but there was something missing. So that's why when wing foiling started, or when we started wind foiling, maybe a year later, I'm like, oh, that's exciting. Sucking at something. You know how they say it's good to like try something or be suck at something. And I like to try something new, especially like something I'm not good at, because I always want to be good at what I'm not good at. So I'm like, oh, here is a new challenge. Let's pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the same thing. I love sucking at things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have no problem floating in the ocean for an hour being frustrated because I know next time I'll be a little bit better, and then next time I'll be a little bit better, and that'll pass, and if I can get through that over and over and over again, then I'm going to be good at something, right? And I have no problem sucking, and I still suck. There's still a lot of things I'm not great at. So
Yeah. And I can see the more water sport you do, you know, I probably do like 10 different water sport, from surfing to prone foiling to windsurfing, paddleboarding, or whatever. There's always, always a little adjustment from one sport to the other. And then when you go back to that first sport, you're like, oh, I feel that I improved something, or there's something which I was struggling, and suddenly, I don't know, suddenly I can jibe better on my surfboard, or suddenly I can whatever do something better. So there's kind of like something clicking when you move away from that sport, go to another one, and then go back to that first sport, which is why I love so much switching during the day from one to the other. And here I wake up in the morning, I go surfing, and then I go paddleboarding or prone foiling and windsurfing and wing foiling. It's just you can do it all, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's cool that Cabarete can offer you all those conditions, and it's just condition based, right? Whenever you want to do something, there's an opportunity, and just throw a sport at it. And they all have this like crossover, right? So you can learn something from one sport that helps you figure out something in another sport. You know, like there's all these little things and nuggets that you can take from every sport, which is it happens all the time, and I love it because it's not like you're losing. You know, if I don't wing foil, I haven't been winging. Man, I haven't been winging for a few months. It's only been proning, foil drive, and pair winging, and some kiteboarding in the mix. So then when I jump back on a wing, it's not like I'm losing skills, you know? So sometimes people are like, oh, I've got to practice this, and I've got to practice this, and they try to keep it all up. I mean, I know once I have the urge to go wing foiling again or jump in a race or something, I've got all these skills that I've built up over all these other sports that are they're just all building, which is just super cool.
Yeah.
So much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for, explaining the Cabarete Wing Fest. I'm super excited to come. Super stoked that North is having me and Arlen come out and hang out with you guys. Hopefully we can add some value and just have fun with everybody over there. And I always remember hanging out in Cabarete. We never spent a lot of time together, but I always admired you and how ambitious you were, having the school and doing all these sports, and early in the morning doing stand-up yoga, on the paddle boards, and just everything. Anything you could do, you did it, and you're always there and always super stoked about it, keeping people in the sport. So you're a great ambassador for the sport, and I'm super stoked that you're having us come out so I can see what you guys have done there and what you're doing and what Cabarete has got to offer for us.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan, so much. And thank you for coming to Cabarete. I know you'll be like a big part of it, and I'm super excited to change and to connect. And I love to inspire people, right? I'm having fun on a board, on the ocean, whatever the board is. And if I can inspire one person just because the person watched me or be just talking about, I'm stoked. And if I can see someone learning it and getting, this butterfly in their stomach because they just got it, for me, it makes me happy. So
that's awesome.
The Wing Fest, that's the aim of the Wing Fest, sharing the stoke, having people like you talking about. And I'm super excited about this year. So thank you for being part of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Audrey.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.